might be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, guys, I said this in the video that came out yesterday, but y'all know that I was asking y'all pretty much, hey, what kind of videos do you want to see on this channel during this season? Do you want me to go through and talk about trade targets? Do you want me to go through and talk about waivers? And so many people said at the beginning of the year, what they want to hear is they want to hear waivers, 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 waivers. So I think that's what we're going to be doing. We can go position by position. We can go general groups. But going forward, I think what we want to be doing is we want to be tracking the players that aren't necessarily guaranteed to have a spot on your roster. That way, at the bottom of the lineup, you can continue to churn it. You can continue to accumulate value for the rest of the season. Because obviously, we have such a small sample right now that if we're talking about buy low players, sell high players, it doesn't mean a whole lot. Because at this point of the season, you should definitely be going off of whatever projections you had coming into the year, rather than how these players performed in the first week. Because we know baseball's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And outside of that, guys, of course, go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and in the comment section below, continue to tell me if I say anything stupid. If you hear something and you think you know more than what I said, please, I encourage you to go to the comment section. You could be as rude as you want to be, telling me I'm dumb. I don't care. Try to help the other people watching this video get better in fantasy baseball, because we're all working together. Okay, so let's pull up our first player here, and it's going to be a rookie, but actually a 28-year-old rookie. It's going to be Yermin Mercedes, who right now is available in about 35% of leagues. So by far and away, he's going to be for the most shallow formats out of all of these players. And he's listed as a catcher / a utility player for the White Sox. And first thing I want to address is the fact that, the players that are in the White Sox lineup, they're guys that you can be looking at consistently, because we know the White Sox are going to be one of those teams that should put up a decent amount of runs, and you always benefit by going after the players in those stud lineups, because A, if they get through the lineup one extra time, they're going to get an extra at-bat. B, whenever they get to the plate, especially when Mercedes is batting fifth in the lineup, it's probably likely that there's going to be a runner or two on base that can give him a decent shot at accruing some RBIs. And C, once he gets on base himself, the hitters after him should have a better shot at getting him moving, getting him scoring, because we know that makes a drastic difference. If you're playing in a lineup like the Pirates compared to the White Sox, we know that A, you're probably not going to have as many at-bats depending on where you're in the lineup. And also, you're not going to have as many chances at RBIs. You're not going to be up to the plate with as many runners in scoring position as you would with a lineup like the White Sox. So that's the first thing that we like to see. Now, I will say what you hate to see is the fact that he's pretty much been a career minor league player. You don't want to be picking up, you don't want to be looking at the guys that are a 28-year-old rookie, because usually that means the upside isn't necessarily through the roof, because if they had that potential, they probably would have been called up a lot earlier. Like, just look at a Vlad Jr. That's not this type, but it's a waiver wire video. We're talking about the guys at the end of your roster, so you don't necessarily even need that elite level upside. And before we get into what he's actually done in 2021, we don't have any major league stats to look at, but what we can look at is we can look at what he was able to do in the minors. And if we go through and look at both AAA and AA, in AAA, he only saw 187 at-bats, but in those 187 at-bats, he had great numbers. He had a 310 average, he had a 386 on-base percentage, but most importantly, he had a 647 slugging. Now, I will say, guys, please understand that this is only 187 at-bats. You definitely would prefer to see this number up at 800 to feel comfortable about the sample, but even if that slugging regresses significantly, just say down to 550, a 100-point drop, that's still a great percentage to be looking at. In AA, the stats were good, not as elite as they were in AAA, where in 191 at-bats, he had a 319 average, he had a 376 on-base percentage, and a 482 slugging. And I don't want to talk about the other leagues that he played in, because whenever he was playing in international leagues, he was like 18, 19, 20 years old, so that was a decade ago. So I don't think that's relevant at all for what we are going to be expecting this season. But if we go through and look at what he's provided so far this year, in only 18 at-bats, he's leading Major League Baseball in total hits with 12. He's accrued a walk, and with those hits, he's hitting for power too. It's not just standard base hits. He's accrued 3 doubles and a home run. So across the board, you're looking at Mercedes and you're going, okay, I think the upside's going to be a little bit limited here, but we understand that A, you're going to have the roster flexibility with him. B, he's going to be playing in a lineup that we really want to be targeting. So even if you're playing in a shallower format, if he's available in one of your leagues, I think you should be going and looking to add him as soon as you can, because at the very worst, he's a player in a very, very productive lineup. Okay, so now let's get our next guy up here. This is going to be Cedric Mullins, who's available in way more leagues. He's available in 85% of leagues. And playing for the Baltimore Orioles as an outfielder, he's 26 years old. And we don't have a super large sample with him either. Of course, a lot of these guys aren't going to have long major league track records because they're kind of coming out of nothing. They're kind of coming from a spot that we didn't expect. With Cedric, it's a little bit different because he is only 26 years old. But anyway, what we can look at is we can look at two things. We can look at his career major league numbers all combined together, which he's had 391 career major league at-bats. So not even enough to classify that as a full season sample. But in those at-bats, the numbers haven't been great. I mean, he had a 240 average, a 304 on base percentage, and a 361 slugging. One thing you do like to see, though, is the fact that he was able to get 10 stolen bases while not even getting on base that often. So you can say, hey, if he does turn this around, if he can find his way on the base path more, then maybe he's someone that you could look at for steals. And instead of going through what he's done in his entire minor league career, I would prefer to just look at AA, because AA is by far and away the largest sample that we have to look at with him. And there he has 709 at-bats across 3 seasons. And with those 709 at-bats, one thing that we love to see, 38 stolen bases. So no, this isn't an elite number, but still, it's great. And I know it's AA, so the catchers aren't necessarily up to par, but still, that's going to be something that's encouraging. And a 281 average, a 337 on base percentage, a 458 slugging. So a little bit of just, I want to say, average numbers across the board. But he's seeing at-bats in this lineup to go along with it. With those at-bats, he's been very productive so far in 2021. Where, yes, small sample, only 17 at-bats, but out of those, he's provided you with 10 hits, 3 doubles, and 4 total runs. So we definitely prefer Mercedes over Mullins. But for those deeper formats where maybe you don't have as many options on the waiver wire, Cedric Mullins is someone you could look at. Okay, so now let's go to the complete opposite side of the spectrum. Let's stop talking about players that don't have a long track record, and let's look at Evan Longoria. Okay, so obviously, it's kind of funny seeing this name on a waiver wire video if you just remember what Evan Longoria was about a decade ago, but we are a long ways away from that. And right now, 35 years old, playing third base for the San Francisco Giants. He's available in about 83% of leagues. And then we go through, and I don't want to focus in on what he did so long ago because obviously there's a reason he's on the waiver wire. He's not that same type of player. But we can look at his recent seasons. And in 2019, we have a full year to look at with 453 at-bats, where he posted a 254 average, a 325 on base percentage, and a 437 slugging. So numbers that aren't fantastic by any means, especially if you go through and look at the fact that he's playing in a lineup that's not too desirable. He's not going to provide you with a ton of stolen bases. In 2020, the numbers were similar. The on-base percentage dipped slightly, but it was only with 193 at-bats. So we've talked about over and over and over again that 2020 season is going to be so hard to look at and draw anything of value from, because not only is the sample size very small, but there were so many moving variables, and it was just a crazy year to begin with. So 2020, I don't want to look at too much. If we go to 2021 with what he's done so far, he's currently leading Major League Baseball with 3 home runs, which is extremely impressive considering he's only had 15 at-bats, where he's also posted 5 hits and 2 walks. So I understand here with Evan Longoria, no, we are not expecting him to continue with this slugging. Obviously, this is a small sample. Obviously, this is going to regress. But we can be looking at him as a player that, yes, doesn't have the highest ceiling, but you kind of know what you're going to get with him. And if you're playing in a deep league where maybe you're suffering through some injuries right now and you just need a plug-and-piece player, Evan Longoria could be that guy. But that's all I got for y'all. I really hope y'all enjoyed the video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And I will see y'all with the video tomorrow.